Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm John Iadarola, and I woke up this morning to see something that I knew I was going to have to talk about. It's not the most serious news of the day, but it was Trump being Trump in a way that has scary connotations a little bit down the line, but is just so ridiculous. And occasionally, you wake up and you've forgotten that he's the president and that we live in the world that we do, and then you're reminded of it. And so I was reminded of it when I saw this post. So he was holding a breakfast event for Black History Month, which, surprise, he actually did that. That's good. George W. might not have even done that, so I'll give him a little bit of credit there. But a section was tweeted out by Judd Legum, and I want to read this for you. This is going to be my dramatic recreation of his breakfast address. He said this: "Last month, we celebrated the life of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., whose incredible example is unique in American history." So it starts off very well. That's perfectly fine, no problem there. "You read all about Dr. Martin Luther King a week ago when somebody said I took the statue out of my office. And it turned out that that was fake news. The statue is cherished. It's one of the favorite things, and we have some good ones. We have Lincoln, and we have Jefferson, and we have Dr. Martin Luther King, and we have other." I didn't change that, he said other. "But they said the statue, the bust, of Dr. Martin Luther King was taken out of the office, and it was never even touched. So I think it was a disgrace. But that's the way the press is. It's very unfortunate." Now that's obviously a part of a larger address. But this is our president right there. Hello, Alberto. This is our president right there, turning what's supposed to be just like a talk about the man's life or his legacy. And we know largely what the event became. You've probably seen the news where he brought people like Ben Carson to just gush about how awesome Trump is. He turned an event that's supposed to be about Black History Month generally, and he's turning it into something about MLK Jr., which is fine, into something about him, in fact, which is ridiculous. But he can't help himself in going off on these anti-media screeds that he goes on. And so someone in the comments is saying that I'm overreacting. No, unfortunately I'm not. This is a guy and an administration that is aggressively opposed to an independent media, who finds an independent media to be, in their view, antithetical to a functional government, instead of a fundamental part of a functioning democracy, something that we need to know what the government is doing, to educate us on what they're not doing. But he thinks that because there was, I don't even remember the story about the statue, I didn't even see that go out there, but you know he did, because he can't keep watching the news about himself. But this is just one part of what happened at that address. In another section, he went off on how CNN specifically is fake news, and we found out recently that they're not going to be having any aides or representatives from the administration go on CNN for the time being. And immediately after saying that, he began praising Fox News, and they said that this is not a permanent ban, that it can be adjusted based on their behavior. Now, if you don't like access journalism, this should be the worst example of how that relationship can be twisted that's even possible to come up with. I mean, it's bad enough when you have journalists who want access and are sort of willing to be a little bit too nice and ask easy questions. But here you have the administration saying, you are going to be blacklisted, your entire network, and only if you start being nice to us, cover us in the way that we want to be covered, will we put anyone on your network. That is the exact opposite of what the relationship between the government and the media is supposed to be like. Now, in the short term, I don't even know if CNN is really personally losing out on anything. Previously, they had Kellyanne Conway on basically a daily basis, and I don't think she ever said one honest thing or revealed anything interesting about the inner workings of the administration. And so losing out on that doesn't really seem like that big of a loss, I suppose. But it's more about the general philosophy of this combative attitude towards the media, a demonization of the media. We have Bannon referring to the media as the opposition party. We have Donald Trump literally calling the media the enemy. And we already know that many of his core supporters, perhaps a growing amount, don't believe anything the media says. They believe that news and reality are up to you to decide. It's just opinion. It's whatever you want it to be. And that is going to have consequences going into another election. If you think, if you don't like how Bernie Sanders was covered by the media, imagine what it's going to be like when an ever-increasing percent of the population doesn't trust anything that they see. They don't trust stories about a speech or about they don't trust any of that. Imagine what effect that could potentially have on future elections. And some of those people will need to be converted over. I mean, you can't even, as a Democrat, you can't even win the popular vote and expect that you're going to win the presidency. You need to overwhelmingly win the popular vote to have a chance, apparently. And so that this is something that's going to have consequences down the line. And on a lighter note, yeah, it's an event that's supposed to be sort of a layup. You know, you get some people together, you talk about Black history. If you actually appreciate Black history, perhaps you use the event and the media coverage it'll get to shed light on people whose contributions to American science and politics and business haven't been noticed previously. Instead, he turns it into something about himself and about the media. Anyway, that's just my little morning update. I'm off to do the Young Turks today. I'm going to be hosting the first hour of the Young Turks with Anna Kasparian, so that should be fun. We've got some good news and some bad news coming out of late last night after yesterday's episode of the Young Turks ran. I'm going to be doing some more live streams in the future, so if you're not already a subscriber, you should be, although you probably are since you saw this notice go out. And if you're not already following me on Twitter, it's at John Iadarola. I'm doing, lately, a lot more tweeting than I am video recording for the personal channel, so you might want to keep up with that. Thanks for joining me, guys. Talk to you soon.